And now the Oddity Archive proudly presents a special presentation. Our production of The Scarlet Letter, the musical, a cappella.
Hester Prynne, you have been found guilty of adultery.
Adultery.
Now you must wear.
Wear the A, wear the A, wear it every single day in the park, in the town.
And welcome to the Oddity Archive, the show that asks such deep, thought-provoking questions as... Here we go again. Way back, farther than I wish to remember. Okay, it was the first episode. We discussed the Max Headroom incident of 1987. I guess it was inevitable, but now we seem to be contractually obligated, don't know how that happened, to discuss the two other famous cases of broadcast signal hijacking. Today, it's a doubleheader, the 1986 Captain Midnight incident, and taking our first ever trip outside the US for the 1977 UK Vrillon incident. At just after 12:30 a.m. on Sunday, April 27, 1986, understandably frustrated satellite dish salesman/store owner John McDougal was alone working at his second job as an operations engineer at Central Florida Teleport, providing uplinking services to broadcast satellites, particularly to the then soon-to-be defunct pay-per-view service People's Choice. After he'd helmed his final broadcast for the night, he sent his satellite dish back to its resting place, which just so happened to be the proper aim for the East Coast feed of HBO. John had an idea. He was upset that HBO had started scrambling their services earlier that year. Sound familiar?
It may seem like you need 7 different descrambler boxes to get 7 different channels. Well, American Ecstasy realizes that the home dish industry is accepting a standard. The Video Cipher 2 Descrambler.
Because potential dish owners now had to buy a special descrambler box and pay a hefty subscription fee for HBO, his sales had died a sudden and nasty death. As I said, earlier in the year HBO had started scrambling their feed, becoming the first cable network to do so, charging customers an additional $12.95 per month. Let me put this in perspective. $12.95 in 1986, accounting for inflation, amounts to just over $27 in 2012 dollars. There was only one HBO channel at the time, as opposed to the 8 or 9 HBOs today, all in one package, no less. Also, factor in that a descrambler box was going to cost at least a couple of $100s, and that the cost of a satellite dish was, at the time, around $1,000. Yeah, it was a bad time to be in the satellite business. Getting back on topic here, John was upset. In a split-second decision of anger, he pulled up the color bars and a character generator and started typing. By his own account, he was trying to sound fairly polite, so he opened with a simple good evening. Then, in an odd turn of bravado, continued, "From Captain Midnight." Well, it was in the midnight hour locally, so I guess that works. $12.95 a month? No way! Showtime and Movie Channel, beware. That last part, according to Captain Midnight anyway, wasn't meant as a threat. but as a warning that consumers might not take kindly to HBO's decision, and that Showtime and the movie channel should be worried about their own subscription numbers if HBO's new policy didn't catch on. With that, the newly dubbed Captain Midnight cranked the satellite's power and sent out his message at a higher wattage than HBO, cutting off their broadcast of The Falcon and the SNOWMAN. No big loss. HBO's engineers retaliated by upping their power. Captain Midnight did the same, and so on and so on. This little power war lasted for about a minute and a half before HBO's engineers, fearing damage to their satellites, gave up and returned to their regular power levels, allowing Captain Midnight to broadcast his simple, cryptic message for as long as he desired. After 4.5 minutes, Captain Midnight powered down his satellite, and the movie resumed. Now, this wasn't actually the first time that Captain Midnight struck. A week earlier, perhaps out of anger or curiosity or both, the Captain had overridden HBO's signal for a couple of seconds with just plain old color bars. HBO had dismissed it as a relatively common glitch, and since it occurred late at night with few viewers tuned in, HBO didn't bother to investigate the matter. By his own admission, the Captain was a person who would let his curiosity get the better of him. This led him to discussing the hijacking with coworkers and acquaintances, pretending to simply be curious about what had happened, not to mention that it had happened during his shift. Way to get people suspicious, Cap. It took 3 months and several false leads, but the feds ultimately caught up with Captain Midnight, and felt confident enough to subpoena him. By this point, he'd already lost his engineering job and was losing money on his satellite business. He'd been feeling quite guilty about what he'd done, and despite some initial hesitation, was ready to pay the price and rebuild his life. The Captain opted to plead guilty, saving himself a lengthy, not to mention risky, trial, as well as massively reducing his chances of jail time. On August 26, 1986, just shy of 4 months after the hijacking, Captain Midnight was found guilty of illegal satellite operation, only a misdemeanor at the time, and was sentenced to 1 year of probation and had to pay a $5,000 fine, which was partially paid off by supporters of the Captain's cause. This story has an even happier ending. The satellite industry rebounded after another year or two, and the advent of the mini dish in the mid-90s has long since proven to be a regular rival to cable. Today, the Captain still runs his store in Ocala, Florida, and we'll be right back.
Hey, this Christmas party is getting a little too quiet. I think it's time we liven it up with my favorite Christmas gift, Mr. Microphone.
Hey, what's that?
Well, you set the dial on your FM radio and testing.
I'm on the radio!
These kids are having a fabulous time with Mr. Microphone, the cordless microphone that actually puts your voice on the radio. There are no attaching wires, so you're free to move around. Broadcast over any FM car radio.
Hey, good looking. We'll be back to pick you up later.
Professional entertainers use Mr. Microphone for rehearsing. It's practical and great fun for the whole family. And it's only $14.88. Mr. Microphone, buy 2 or 3, they really make great Christmas gifts.
All your weapons of evil must be removed. The time for conflict is now past, and the race of which you are a part may proceed to the higher stages of its evolution, if you show yourselves worthy to do this.
Did you know aliens have tried to contact us many, many times? British-sounding aliens that sounded like they've seen too many sci-fi movies. Well, back on Saturday, November 26, 1977 at 5:10 p.m. local time, the aliens got pissed. For years, if not centuries, the Ashtar Galactic Command had been trying to contact the government, though we're not sure which one. Possibly all of them. Anyway, they knew it was time to make their presence known to the general public. Now, due to budget restraints, the aliens could only afford to hijack the signal of England's Southern Television during the evening news. But believe me, had they had the budget, you could bet that they'd have hijacked every single TV and radio frequency in the world, with their message translated into every conceivable language. with every radio and TV turning itself on for the occasion. But times were tight and they had to make do with what they got. So, anyway, what was this message? Well, believe it or not, today we've got an amazing treat for you. We've got the original man being itself. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Vrillon. And now it's time for Poetry Corner. Reading today's poem is Vrillon of the Ashtar Galactic Command.
For many years you have seen us as lights in the skies. We speak to you now in peace and wisdom as we have done to your brothers and sisters all over this, your planet Earth. We come to warn you of the destiny of your race and your world so that you may communicate to your fellow beings the course you must take to avoid the disasters which threaten your world and the beings on our worlds around you. This is in order that you may share in the Great Awakening as the planet passes into the new age of Aquarius. The new age can be a time of great peace and evolution for your race, but only if your rulers are made aware of the evil forces that can overshadow their judgment.
This has been Poetry Corner.
I wasn't finished yet. If I had the budget, I'd vaporize you.
Okay, I think I've made my point here. Yes, the Southern television news was indeed interrupted audio only by someone claiming to be an alien. An alien that paraphrased Darth Vader speeches and warned Earth people of their imminent demise if the use of nuclear energy isn't ceased immediately. If they were such superior beings and all, why didn't they stop us? Why didn't they follow through in some regard? Why didn't they offer an alternative to nuclear energy and our other evil ways, like all weapons, great and small? Why didn't they hijack more than just a single TV channel, audio only, in mostly rural southern England? They didn't even go for London? I guess they were just looking for a bit of that famous English hospitality that the big city just couldn't provide. To put it flatly, this was a hoax. Probably some broadcasting or science students looking for attention. And I'm not even going to go into whether or not I think they actually believed their own politics, because it doesn't matter. Now, like the later Max Headroom incident, these folks evidently knew that their signal could be traced after a while, so they kept their transmission relatively brief. This was the first documented case of illegal broadcast signal hijacking. It provided proof of concept to wannabe signal pirates all over the world that the relatively average person could bust into a broadcast if they really wanted to. On the other side of the coin, it prodded broadcasters and law enforcement officials to start tightening their control over the airwaves, which continues to this day. Now, even though it hasn't happened yet in the digital era, something like the Vrillon incident set the precedent, and for that reason, it's very significant. Plus, I don't foresee this little game of electronic one-upsmanship ending anytime soon. Well, that's it for today's archive. Join us next time when we further discuss the fine art of signal jamming.
We're jamming. I wanna jam it with you. We're jamming.